woo! I have no props this week, guys. Yeah, woo!
You just bring the enthusiasm yourself, though.
Exactly. I mean, it's the enthusiasm for pumpkin pie. So
there you go.
For those watching the video, you can see our titles. Ben started a tradition here, but welcome everybody to the Ben and Ryan Show. This week we are gonna so we're recording it right before Thanksgiving. And so you guys kind of know the secrets here. And we are going to be talking about things that we're thankful for. And I think everyone does this at this time of year, but we're going to get into kind of what we're looking forward to in 2025. So
absolutely.
Ben, I will kind of throw it over to you. What's something you're thankful for this year?
One of the things that has been very top of mind for me recently is just the tremendous amount of free podcast content that is available. We are, of course, making our own podcast here, but I'm also an avid listener of many other podcasts, both tech-related and completely non-tech related. And it's just really a wonderful service that people do, because I find that I am not sitting down a lot. I'm away from my desk. I'm not in a place where I can necessarily be reading. I'm often in the car. I'm often walking the dog, and being able to have this sort of saturating information percolating in the back of my mind all the time has just been really great. And I'm just very thankful that people are so willing to put all that information out there and share it with everyone else. I will say, like, from a very practical standpoint, I am at the end of my career here at Envision, and I'm starting to have conversations with people a little bit outside my world. And just having the breadth of podcast content out there has really, I think, allowed me to sort of hold my own in conversations where I don't necessarily feel like I have any expertise, but I just, from having my fingers in lots of little pies, digitally, audio speaking,
and pumpkin wise.
Yeah, and pumpkin pie wise. I feel like I can reference things. I can understand what people are talking about. I can connect with people in a way that I don't think I would have been able to in the pre-podcast era. So I'm just thankful that people are so willing to put that out there.
Yeah, I see a lot of your LinkedIn posts, and and even being on the show with you quote a lot of podcasts out there. So I don't know where you find the time to be able to soak in all the knowledge. And you don't even commute. You work from home, so it's not even like where you can say, "Hey, on my drive into work, I'm listening to the podcast." It's unless you take your time walking down the halls or something of the house.
I spend a lot of time with the dog. I spend a lot of time going to the supermarket, and I listen to podcasts on 2 times speed, which has been super helpful. 2 times, yeah. I have 1 or 2 podcasts that are more like news roundups, and I think I can just crank through those in 2.5 speed, which it's really hard to understand. But when all they're talking about is the threat of nuclear war or storms that have hit, it's like I don't necessarily have to understand all the details. I can just kind of get the little blips and the bloops coming through. But yeah, 2 times speed, I feel pretty comfortable at these days, unless someone who's on the podcast has a very strong accent. Then at that point, I usually have to slow down to like 1.5 speed. But
my go-to is 1.5. I've not tried 2. I may up it now to 2.
2's it takes a little while to get used to, and if I have to be paying attention, so if I'm in the car, I'll actually oftentimes bring it back down to 1.5, because when I'm in the car, I'm so focused on the drive and not crashing that I can't process that much information at one time.
And that may be it, because I'm listening to podcasts in the car. I do have a commute, and so that's my half hour to and from work each day that I'll throw on a podcast. So I have gotten a sense that as the faster you go, you do kind of zone out a little bit in the car, and so you may miss some of it. And paying attention to cars. My kids can't stand it though. The kids love riding the car with me, and they're like, "Dad, he talks way too fast."
Yeah, my wife is the same way. I'll plug the phone in for GPS mapping, and it'll just immediately turn on whatever podcast I was listening to. And my wife is like, "What the heck is this? It just sounds like gibberish." So then we'll turn the podcast down to listen at 1 time speed, because we have a couple of podcasts that we like to listen to together, and it's like people are drunk. They talk so slowly.
Yeah, I've done that before. I'm like, that's what they sound like?
Right?
Oh, they sound way better at 1.5 speed.
What a bunch of weirdos.
Ben, is it 5 o'clock somewhere on a Friday for you?
This is a strawberry lemonade polar seltzer.
Oh,
Yeah. So hopefully I'll be able to hold my liquids. What are you? What's something you're thankful for?
I'll say I hate to be hokey on this, but I'm thankful that you joined me on this journey of doing the Ben and Ryan show.
Ah, sir, you're too kind.
You have a lot of experience on a previous podcast doing it every week for and so learning from kind of how you do things. You take your time where you will explain it to the audience. So you see, I hear this where you say, for those listening,
yeah,
and you'll use that and clarify something,
right.
or
VPS stands for virtual private server.
So I love that. So I'm like, I'm learning from that, and then to see how you describe the podcast when you post out on LinkedIn. I'm learning a lot. You have great descriptions of things, and you go into great depth, even on your blogging. You've done a lot of that. So it's to be able to work with you and learn from what your experience is. I'm thankful for, because this is a lot of fun for me. I mean, for that matter, I'm thankful that XBite gives me the ability to do this. I mean, to pay me to do these things is amazing. The fact that they're like, oh yeah, no problem. It's phenomenal. This is my job, is to, I mean, I do other things, of course, but to be able to do these recordings with various people, including you.
Well, and I'm very thankful that you are really the mastermind behind actually getting this show done, because I know you've gotten the guests, you do the coordination of the times, and you get people in place, and you do all the publishing, and the idea of even calling or talking to someone and asking them to be on a show is like my introvert's nightmare. So if I just have to show up and be cordial, that's a win for me. So I appreciate that you're doing, from an introvert's perspective, a lot of the heavy lifting here.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that's one of the reasons why we mesh together on these, is that we do have those two different personalities. And I'm like, all right, no problem. I'll chat with anybody about these things. I do the invites, so I have a lot of fun with that and organizing things. So I think we're in a lot of we have some exciting shows coming up. So
stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. Yeah. Ooh.
I'll tell you just one thing that you had mentioned there. My descriptions of the podcast on LinkedIn. So when I used to
cheat, do you have AI do it?
No. I haven't. No. I don't use AI for any writing yet. I'm nervous to do it. I don't want to lose my voice. Like my perspective.
Yeah. Not like talking.
Yeah. So when I used to post things socially, I would always start on Twitter, get my message there, and then I would usually copy paste it into LinkedIn. But Twitter, because I never paid for it, I only had a 240 character limit. So I was pretty stunted in how I could describe things. It was basically like tiniest blurb and link to thing plus image. I have stopped using Twitter just because I think, politics aside, I think Elon's kind of a crazy person. And so I'm just also, like, every single time I would open up my Twitter app, like the very first thing I'd see was somebody saying some sort of batshit crazy thing. And I'm just, I don't know. I don't need that in my life. Long story short, I've sort of stopped using Twitter. So now I go first to LinkedIn, and LinkedIn has no limit, or I think the limit's like 3,000 characters. It's something pretty beastie. So I feel like I can actually be much more descriptive in how I want to talk about things, and hopefully that allows people to connect with what I'm trying to say a little bit easier, instead of just trying to understand a little quippy blurb and then click through to an article. So I'm hoping that that works better just in terms of spreading the information.
Yeah, you don't have to be as link baity. You don't need to
try exactly.
The line. Yeah,
exactly. This one weird trick stop people from hacking my site. I don't see that the one weird trick headline that much anymore. I guess that sort of has reached
on
peak
LinkedIn,
saturation.
yeah,
That's true. I'm not on
if
BuzzFeed. Does
if
BuzzFeed
you
still exist?
probably, I think if you scroll down on a lot of news sites, you'll see the like the I'm trying to think of the names of the company, like Outbrains of the world. There are these companies who sell. There's some term for it, but basically they have a site that they push out all that type of link baity stuff across different news channels.
It's been interesting just speaking about various podcasts out in the world. So a couple of the podcasts I listen to are SEO related. That's search engine optimization related. And
For those
SEO,
listening,
for those
SEO.
listening, SEO is search engine optimization. And that has been a really big industry for a long time. The idea that you focus a lot on the type of content you generate in order to show up on search results. But now that so many people are going to things like ChatGPT or Gemini or Bard or whatever the various ones are called, there's this real crisis about what SEO means these days because search results are just not as relevant. But I was listening to an episode the other day and someone was articulating, and I thought very clearly, was that SEO is really still very important, but it's much more focused now. That you have to have search terms that are very specific to the type of thing that you're doing. Because even if someone is in something like a ChatGPT and looking up, where can I host my website? X by Cloud might not even have to be competing for such a broad statement anymore because no one's searching for broad statements like that necessarily. But you can talk to an AI and start to, do I want a cloud? Do I want VPS? Well, what's the benefit of having a VPS? So I can have managed hosting. And then maybe people go to a Google and then they start searching for like, what's the best managed hosting for this price range? And now you can still come in with your SEO tweaking in that kind of a more narrow business vertical. This has nothing to do with the show that we're doing right now.
It has everything to do with the show. Again, for those tuning in, this is the show.
This is the show.
Off on tangents. We have like a very loose script.
That's right. We keep pushing things on the stack here. But like I have this information marinating in the back of my mind.
Now,
again,
why SEO though? Like you're not like
why
marketing.
not? Because it's not marketing, but it's still content adjacent, and SEO is content adjacent in the way that accessibility is kind of content adjacent, in the way that performance, delivering things through a CDN or content delivery network for our listeners. It all kind of it's this. Web development is this multi-headed Hydra beast, and you get good at some parts and you just have a vague notion that the other heads exist. And I just like to have at least that vague notion that these things are out there, even if I'm not necessarily going to be an expert or even a novice. I just like to know so that if someone references it in a conversation, I can be like, oh, yes, that's interesting. I kind of know what you're talking about.
Now, do you call yourself like a full stack developer, or where do you kind of put Ben?
I refer to myself as a full stack developer, but it seems that in recent years that term has come under fire a little bit because there are people who are much closer to the metal than I am. I mean, there are people who I've said before on this show, I know next to nothing about server management. I certainly know next to nothing about computer architecture. I don't know how processing chips work. I don't know about the difference.
Yeah, I would remove that from full stack though.
Right, but there's
do people some people define that as you need that for full stack?
I feel like it depends. No, I don't think you need to it's only that the breadth of technology has grown so wide and so deep that I think depending in the circles that you're talking, the notion of a developer just takes on very different meanings. So when I say full stack, what I mean is I know how to talk to a database and I know how to render HTML. It's like, that's the kind of, plus or minus in there, that kind of range.
Yeah. I'll even add to that for the better developers that I've met, they also have an ability to do the product management side of things, where they can also talk to end users and interpret needs. And so they have a business understanding, and that helps them develop better, because then they can
1000%.
ask very good questions. So if someone gives them requirements, they can come back and say, "Hey, what about this? If you thought about this," and that just helps everything. So you don't need that middle person necessarily in there. Not to say we should get rid of product management, because I was a product manager, and I think they're great and needed. But the rare developers you find who kind of have the back end, front end, and product management.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus, humans are so fallible. Is that the right word? We make a lot of mistakes. We make a lot of mistakes
Okay.
in our communication. We make a lot of mistakes in how we listen to people. So the more holistically you can think about product development, the more effectively you can consume the information that people give you. So if a product manager came to me and said, "Hey, we have this requirement from a customer, they want to do XYZ," if I don't really think about the customer, I would probably just implement feature XYZ without thinking about it. But if something in the description doesn't sit right with me, I can not necessarily push back, but I can go back and say, "I'd like to understand this a little bit better, because maybe we misunderstood what the customer was asking for, or does the customer understand the level of effort that it would take to build this? Because maybe we can build the 80% solution for, a fraction of the cost."
That is so many conversations I have with people.
Right. Like, like I think we talked about the nines of availability on a previous episode, and how like every nine costs an extraordinarily larger amount of money. And if you just take things as is at people's word, you don't get the chance to have that conversation about the trade-offs. So the more you can think about every aspect of development, again, you don't have to be an expert in any of it. You just kind of have to know that it exists so that you can understand how to consume it more effectively.
So was this about a topic you? I was trying to circle back.
Like, where did we get there?
I have no idea.
I was thankful for podcast content.
There you go. Normally, I understand the highway where we're on, and the exits we take, and can lead us back. But
it is a Friday, and it has been a long week.
I was just so mesmerized. I was like, "What's he saying?" Like on each word, I'm like, I don't know where he came from.
Where's this crazy man going?
I'll agree with them on the podcasters. And I listen to a different range. Like I'll listen to like tech related. I'll even get a shout out to the Tech Meme Ride Home. That's one of my favorite ones. That just kind of gives a quick 15 minutes.
It's called Tech Meme Ride Home.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never heard.
So he's been in the tech space forever, like the history of tech. He's known for. His name is Brian, and just it's a great one that I've listened to. It gives a kind of a tech roundup. So instead of having to look at all the headlines, he's like he gives you the headlines and some of his own commentary about it, but not a ton of his own stuff. He's not pushing his own agenda on you. He's more just kind of giving you the summary of what's happened.
I love that though, because he acts as a curator.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of the tastemaker, and he's filtered through a bunch of the stuff that you don't need to know about. And he surfaces the things that are maybe more meaningful or more relevant. So I love that as an intermediary step.
And if I miss one, I may be going somewhere to like a kid's sporting event or something, and I may pop on one of them. So if they're into their tablets or a book or something, whatever's in the car, I may slip a podcast on low volume, still 1.5 speed. But just to irritate them. That's what dads do. But yeah, so I can always catch up. So that one, I have some sales ones I listen to, because in the marketing side, you got to understand the sales, and because they're a customer of yours. So I listen to some sales ones, motivational ones. So the
sales ones must be interesting. Sales seems like you have to be a very special type of person to do sales. I think as an introvert, again, the idea of cold calling people and trying to sell them on stuff is about the most uncomfortable thing I think I could ever do.
Yeah, I've never been in an actual salesperson role, but I was kind of adjacent as a sales engineer when I first started my career. So I was the one doing the presentations. So the salesperson would bring me on. And then they would zone out, check emails while me and the customer chatted for a while. That taught me how to, if I'm on any kind of call or something with somebody, I know they may be zoning out, then I will ensure I repeat the question. So I'm like, hey Bob, that's a great question. Hey Bob, what do you think about? And then repeat question. And that way, Bob,
so they're not like,
you hear their name.
What?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a great question. So it lets you work with them a lot more. I forget where we're going with me being a sales engineer.
Just the sales podcast.
Sales. Yeah, sales. Yeah. So that's been the closest I've been from an actual doing it perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so that can be a lot of appreciation. And then being a product manager, you're out there talking to customers. So you're still in front of customers, but you're not actually, no compensation is necessarily tied to sales performance.
Right.
But you're having to sell the features. You're having to kind of placate them and say, okay, hey, what's going on? Making sure they're happy. If they're not, figure out why. And then at the same time, you're interviewing them for new stuff and fixing bugs and stuff that they bring up. So it's always been kind of that was kind of sales adjacent. And then from a leadership perspective, I ran teams. So I had to know that. But I guess it's one of the ones if you can't do, you teach. So I was all right, perfect. I don't want to be a salesperson. Maybe we can teach them.
The very first sales guy that we ever had at Envision many, many years ago, I think his name was Ahad Raza, maybe. He was selling the product to enterprise teams. And at the time, we literally had no difference between the self-serve product and the enterprise product. And he was still out there selling it as like, here's why you should have an enterprise contract. And I'm sure he could say,
was there a price difference?
There was a price difference.
Was it support? I mean,
I think yes.
No difference.
I think from a product standpoint, I think there was basically no difference, but I do think there was a sense or a notion of enhanced support or more prioritized support. But over time, the product did grow into more of a differentiation between the self-serve and the enterprise. And certainly support was a big part of that and continued to be a big part of it. But just the chutzpah to go out there and try to sell a product at a higher price point for something that was like really not a value add. And and he did it and it was amazing. And my hat's off to him. I am thankful.
Well, you guys just had such amazing support that it was worth that.
No doubt and no joke. Our support team over the years has been world-class. I very much credit our support team for the reason that we have been in business for as long as we've been in business, because they have just been phenomenal. Whenever I hear people talk about our support, it is in 99% of cases just a phenomenal amount of great feedback. And then there's occasionally a nut job who's like, yeah, your support's terrible. I got the worst help. And I'm like, all right, well, you're probably just a crazy person. I'm sorry to say.
But not to his face.
No. This would be obviously. I'm a polite person, so I'll do it behind his back.
Exactly,
like a normal human.
Oh yeah, that's what you got to do. It's funny you mentioned that. Oh, they're selling that thing. Back of my mind, I'm thinking, Xbyte Cloud. We sell hosting that anybody can do. Is Ben talking about us? Like, because literally the difference between what we sell and like other people, I mean, I take that back, because our tuning that we do for customers, the benefit of us and the structure we've created to deliver the performance that they get with our hosting is different. So we have some specialness we've done in that. So I guess in a sense, it's not what you get with everybody else, and the hardware. The fact that we're using just the best of the hardware, that makes a difference. So I shouldn't say we do the exact same thing, but to a lot of people, what they see is exactly the same thing, with the difference being the actual the support that we give, and the fact 100%. That if something breaks, we have like the best of the best able to support that.
Customer experience is such a critical part of product development in general. It's such a huge part of what makes a product successful. I am always blown away whenever I have to deal with support as a consumer myself, and people aren't cheery or just they have terrible bedside manner. It just always seems like such a missed opportunity for no reason at all. And I know everyone has bad days, but it's like you had one job, which was just to make the customer feel important, and you didn't do that. That seems crazy to me.
And what's really crazy is everyone's taking that as that's how things are.
Right.
That's the bar is so low for customer support.
So low.
It's funny that like you and I were talking before the show, in our extensive pre-show 3 minutes.
In the tremendous amount of preparation that we do.
Oh yeah. I'm jealous of your last show. You actually had a document. We had one for about 3 days, and then it's like, we have 15 minutes.
That's too much pressure.
But in our pre-show, we're talking about things and talking about how one of the things we're thankful for. I'm thankful that I've a company that lets me do a lot of these recordings and the fact that I can talk to amazing people. But we were talking about how I was talking to one of our customers, and you're talking about greatness, and he was making the analogy of, okay, the doctor who operates on your arm, and let's say you broke your arm and you came there, and they healed you up, no damage, great, all functionality is there. Was that a great experience? And most people say, "Oh yeah, that was a great experience. My arms are perfect now." I'm like, well, no. He's like, in his mind, he's like, no, they just did their job,
right?
And there's no great. Yeah, it was a good job. It didn't go poorly. So the
right.
bar is like your expectations.
It was
okay,
as advertised.
Yeah. Okay. If I have any residual damage or any pain, that's bad. But or that's probably expected. I mean, I'm expecting some like pain. No, it worked. Oh, that's great. No, he's like, no, that's not great. When you're challenged, you can rise to that greatness. And so that's kind of like the customer service, where like, hey, look, our bar is so low that if someone were just to be happy on the phone with us, we're now conditioned to be like, wow, what a great customer service experience. They were cheerful on the phone. We should no. That should be the bar. Like,
right?
You should be cheerful.
Although,
it's like you above and beyond from there.
I'll say that in this dawn of the AI moment in history, it is nice that human interaction is still held as such a value add. You know, that people aren't, I'd rather talk to a robot yet. It is I want to talk to the person. I want that person to be cheery, but not cheery in a generic way, but cheery in a way that we have connected as two people, you know, on the same mission to fix whatever problem I have.
I will say, I think it goes both ways. So as the person asking for support, you've got to be accepting of the fact that they did not wrong you.
Right.
So I think a lot of people go into it with their guns blazing, ready to just go off on this poor tech support person who really had nothing to do with their problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've all been there, unfortunately.
Yeah,
it's an easy thing to slip into.
Yeah. So I think the better trained tech support or customer support in general, maybe not tech, but customer support, know how to diffuse that. And they've been trained on that and can get the person on their side and be like, hey, yeah, you're right. That's terrible.
Yeah.
If this happened to you for our company, that's not the norm. And we, on behalf of the company, I apologize. Let's figure out how we make it right.
So it's one of the podcasts that I listen to, which I'm also thankful for, is Seth Godin has a podcast called Akimbo. Seth Godin is a best-selling author. I think he's written like 20-something books, something crazy. He's been around a really long time. In certain circles, he's extremely well-known. And he always talks about how the people who are your biggest enemies in business can oftentimes become your greatest fans, because they come in with such an emotional buy-in. Even if it's so negative, they're so invested in the thing that's happening that if you can flip the tables on them and create a good experience for them, they'll take all that same energy and become brand ambassadors. And all of that enthusiasm that was negative becomes very positive. And it's hard in the heat of the moment as being the recipient of that anger to remember that, but it can be a very powerful maneuver.
We've actually joked at Xbyte in the past on the technology side of things, from hardware, that we should screw up more stuff so that customers experience the support. They're like, oh wow, you guys are amazing. Because it's kind of like greatness. If you just deliver a quality product and they're like, oh yeah, it works. But the fact if you can screw it up and fix it, you're like, oh man, they fixed it for us. They're amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So people, for those listeners out there, try that strategy. I would love to just have someone try that strategy and see if that actually works. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. What else are we thankful for? I'll jump in here. So as I mentioned, I am at the end of a long job tenure here at Envision. I've been at Envision for about 14 years now. And Envision started as a product that we rolled out of a previous company that I've been at. So if you squint hard enough, I've been working on this product for 16 years and change. And I'm very thankful that I've had the opportunity to work on something for so long, because the lessons that you learn from having to evolve a product over such a long period of time and learning to live with every choice that you've ever made about the product, and learning to live with every choice that everyone else has made about your product. And just, it's given me a perspective that I think very few people in this industry get to have. And so I'm just very thankful that I've been able to be on this journey and watch this company both unfold and then contract and fold back up. But it's been really wonderful.
How many founders were there? Because you were one of the initial founders.
Yes, I was the technical co-founder, and Clark Valberg was the business visionary co-founder. Okay. He was really the visionary product leader, and just a brilliant man. Almost as a party trick, he could on the spot come up with these amazing business ideas. Like someone would just walk up to him and say, hey, I'm thinking about this. And he would turn around and give you like 6 or 7 amazing value adds that you could do to change the way you're thinking about your problem. I mean, it was absurd to me at how easy it was for him, at least from the outside. He would just kind of karate chopping his way through these amazing concepts. And I was always very jealous. I mean, not in a bad way. I was always very much in awe of the way his brain operated. So I'm thankful for that as well.
So now we'll have to do one day where we go into your journey through, kind of, because I'm sure a lot of people out there have opportunities to kind of start companies, and I think the listeners would love not today, because I mean, we can always go into tangents because that's what we do.
that's our thing.
But yeah, to kind of go on that journey with you, saying, okay, hey, how did you first take the leap to even start the company? Because I mean that takes some cojones to go ahead and start that company, and then kind of the journey that the company took through funding and expansion and even contraction, just kind of lessons learned all along the way. I think it'd be interesting for everyone to hear.
Oh yeah. A lot of life lessons, a lot of things that I regret that I could have done better. A lot of things I could have been more vocal about, a lot of things that I could have pushed back harder against that I didn't feel were the right path forward. But it's all in hindsight. You never quite know in the moment how important something is, and you don't want to die on any hill that you don't have to. Yeah, but it's been wonderful. I will say, on the flip side, it's really been interesting. So again, as I'm starting to sort of put my feelers out here and think about what my next journey is going to be, there is something very beneficial about moving jobs more often. You get exposed to new technologies, you get exposed to new processes and different ways that people think about product development, different ways that people think about organizing their teams and running their companies. And when you jump your job from 2 or 3 or 4 years, you really just, I think, have an opportunity to be exposed to a lot more. I think that I have tempered that, meaning I've tempered the fact that I've been in one place focusing on one product for so long with so much of the podcast content that I listen to, because I feel like that is the exposure that I get in lieu of going to a new job where there's a new programming language or a new database or a new source control mechanism or anything really. So it's not as much as I'm thankful for having worked at a place for so long, it is certainly a trade-off, just as everything is.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, being at a company, because I'm in a similar boat where I've been basically, with the exception of a year, been at the same company for 15 years.
Right.
And it is hard to get the outside perspective. I've been lucky to be in positions where kind of part of my job was to look at the outside world, and so that was kind of what I had to do. But for those who are not in that position, then what do they get to do? I mean, like if we have salespeople who have been here for a long time.
Yeah.
And really, then all they've seen is how we do things, and it's interesting sometimes to bring in outside people, and you have to be open to it, but they're going to have other ideas that you may not have seen at your company just because you have not had a chance to you haven't worked at a bunch of companies. You've only worked at one.
And that's why I was really actually very excited for Dakota Klum to come on last week's episode, because in today's world, it's very easy to get stuck in your own little tech bubble. And to hear about how managed hosting works, to hear about how people do development in virtual private servers and how they still integrate with things like continuous integration and continuous deployment, even in a place where we don't have auto scaling like we might in a Docker Swarm or a Kubernetes world. Just to get exposure and to understand that exists, I think is so powerful in terms of expanding your mind and being able to, again, think about every aspect of product development just a little bit more holistically and a little bit more in depth.
And we're gonna have some fun with Charby when she's on in a couple of weeks.
Oh, she in trouble.
Yeah.
No, I'm very excited for her to come on. Absolutely.
Yeah, and for those listening here, the interesting thing is, so I've seen her do like her presentations in front of groups. I've chatted with her on many occasions, just even outside of work, studying at the different CF events. But a lot, and even the online meetup that Charlie Earhart does, it's also very structured. Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be interesting to see her come on this show, which is like anything but structured. So I think we'll all get to see more of her personality, here than they've got to see other places.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that we create an environment where people feel like they can be unguarded. I certainly feel very unguarded here.
And I have a black dot on my head from the green screen. Could be reflection.
It's all good. I think people know it's not real.
So if you're watching this right now, if you see me squirming in my seat, it's because I'm trying to adjust to get the black dot not on my head. So Ben is not making me nervous right now.
Yeah.
So I will go into some. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, anything else that you'd like to bring up?
I'm thinking, looking forward to 2025. I'm looking forward to actually seeing this, one of the bigger rollouts of Cold Fusion.
Yes.
I want to see how they handle that. We don't really get into it too much on our show or talking to them, but there is some competition out there. So interested to see how the Cold Fusion, not necessarily just Adobe Cold Fusion, but the Cold Fusion space itself shakes out. And I'm excited to see how Adobe rises to the occasion and kind of makes their product even better by having some kind of fresh, I don't even know if we could call it competition yet, but just some fresh ideas out there pushing the envelope. So I think I'm excited to see what they can come up with in this release as well as the others.
Let me ask you a question. So I'm sure that there are a lot of people who are on Cold Fusion 2023. I'm sure that there are a lot of people that are still on Cold Fusion 2021, and I'm sure there's still people who are on Cold Fusion 2018, even though I think 2018 might be end of life already.
I mean, you can keep going backwards.
Yeah.
On the version before that, and
do you think it's worth? Okay, in knowing that 2025 is coming out, for people who are not on 2023 already, and that might be me, do you think it's worth upgrading to 2023 first? Or do you think you should just make the leap to 2025 and just go for it? Just do like a YOLO or doing it live kind of a thing. Because Cold Fusion has historically been very good about backwards compatibility.
So the two key issues are going to be the cryptography as far as the changing of the algorithms and the default algorithms, and then the variable scoping. So and those are two things in 2023. And so I would say that if you can get started on it, I know the beta's coming out. I don't know when they're going to officially release the dates, but publicly they've said within a couple of weeks of now. So we can say that here. Within a couple of weeks, they're going to come out with the beta. So technically, I guess you could try the beta. But if you wanted more of a stable version, I would say jump right now on 23. Knowing that it will make an easier transition to 25 because the two main issues you've already addressed.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is primarily backwards compatible, but there are always some rubs in each release. Get them done so that you don't have to do a quantum leap where you're taking care of.
I guess for that matter, I believe those two updates are also in 18. So if you just put in the latest hot fixes of 18, or no, 21. Sorry, 21.
Yeah, because I think some of these are in updaters as well. Like they weren't necessarily in the 2021, but they were in like 2021 update 13 kind of a thing.
Yeah. So the most recent updates of 21, you will be pretty safe. There'll be small things in there, but the most recent updates have the two major issues I've talked about. And so and they also have flags that you can set so that you don't have to use their fixes. But I would advise you not to do that in a production environment. I mean, if you're going to update, you're updating because you want to be more secure, and it wouldn't be a good reason to set that flag.
Yeah.
But yeah, for next year, I'm excited. I mean, this version, from what we get a chance to talk with the crew from Adobe, and they're doing some exciting things. I'm very excited. I mean, for 2025, excited for the hackathon. And I would really love. Mark talked about the hackathon. Yes. And I'd really love to push more teams to leverage Cold Fusion in a rapid application development in hackathons. I'm not the hardcore developer, but from all the developers I talk to about Cold Fusion, what they tell me is that you can do the rapid prototyping or rapid application development much faster than other languages, and that screams hackathon. Because you have a limited time to come up with some MVP, and for the listeners out there, MVP is minimum viable product. I did learn that term listening to your other podcast.
There you go.
You guys talk about that.
Not to be confused with MLP, which is minimum lovable product.
Oh, yeah. I had never heard of that term before.
It's not used as commonly, but people use it to differentiate kind of a level of quality. That minimally viable doesn't necessarily mean that people enjoy it, but minimum lovable is something that is both a proof of concept, but also has enough attention paid to the details and the polish to make it more of a lovable thing.
I was thinking like okay, my kids. I'm like, okay, they're screaming back, they're screaming at me or something.
Yeah.
I have a 8, 10, and soon to be 13-year-old. So if the 13-year-old screaming back at me at something, I'm like, all right, minimal lovable product. Okay. She's half mine. My wife and I, we came together, we created her. So my genes are in here. So that's our minimal.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
All right, so perfect, great opportunity. So my daughter, soon to be 13-year-old, her name is Fiona. She helps me with some of the shorts that I put together for YouTube.
Oh, right.
Because she's kind of in that phone scrolling generation.
Yeah.
And so she was asking for like producer credit or something. I heard producer credit when she asked for whatever she's asking for. Like, can you mention me? So Fiona, this is your mention of what you're doing. So your friends can think you're so cool for being on the internet.
For being on your dad's podcast.
Exactly. She's now internet famous.
She's like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. Yeah, 2025. I have no idea what to expect in 2025 at all.
You have a lot of changes.
It's going to be nothing but changes. And I am both terrified and completely excited to see what comes of this. And I hope that wherever I land, I would love to stay in the Cold Fusion world just because I have such a love for Cold Fusion as a language, for Cold Fusion as a community. But if I end up not in the Cold Fusion world, I hope that I don't just spend every single day comparing what I'm doing to what I could be doing in Cold Fusion. That's like my big fear. Oh. Every time something is complicated, I'll be like, ugh, this would have been one line of code in Cold Fusion. So
that make for great fodder for our podcast. So yeah. I'm hoping that wherever Ben lands, he can still do these podcasts on a weekly basis.
Absolutely. And my personal stuff remains in Cold Fusion. I love Cold Fusion. There's no business value for me changing languages at this point, from a personal standpoint. So I'm going to very much continue to be part of the community no matter what happens.
So if you're out there and you have some amazing CF position, hit up Ben. So we want to keep him in Cold Fusion.
If you need a pumpkin pie enthusiast, that is part of my title.
So if you are hosting Thanksgiving and you are missing somebody at your table and you have pumpkin pie, is there something funny with Shadow? I don't know. This is gonna be a weird lighting day for me. I tried my hardest with good lighting.
It's the time of year. The hours are all different. I hear down in Florida the sun sets at 5:30 these days.
Yeah,
it sets at 4:30 for me. I'm much farther north. My days are short, but not Alaska short. Northeast short.
What's the highs right now for you guys?
Temperature wise?
Yeah.
I think the other day it still got up into the 60s, which I do think is unseasonably warm. But we got our first snow flurries this morning. So, but we've also been in the middle of a drought for the last 2 months.
Okay.
And we have all these fire weather warnings, high wind, low humidity, low drought, or, it's ready to go up. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. But I think we may dip into the low 70s for a high.
All right.
That's normal for us right now.
That's very nice. If I could live at a constant temperature, it would be around 70 degrees probably. That feels to me like I could still wear a sweatshirt at night and still be pretty comfortable during the day.
Just head over to San Francisco.
Yeah. I've been dying to get to I know San Francisco is not quite the Pacific Northwest, but it is kind of getting up there, I think. And I just want to be up in that part of the world for some period of time. It just looks beautiful. It has the
you haven't been to San Francisco?
I went to the Adobe offices once many years ago in San Francisco, but I was literally in California for 18 hours. I think I landed at 4:00 in the afternoon, went to a meeting, and then took off in the morning. So I didn't really have an opportunity. Really. Yeah.
So I've been several times to San Francisco. My wife also has family there, so I've been there from a personal standpoint. It's the same. It's 70 all the time.
Nice.
And rainy often.
I love rain.
And I remember it was my first time. It was July. I was going out there maybe close to July 4th. And I'm thinking, okay, it's July in California. It's going to be hot. So I brought like all like cool like shorts and short sleeve shirts, and it's at night and it's cold.
Yeah.
So I'm having to like buy sweatshirts
Because the
like little
fog rolls in
fleeces.
too, I think, in San Francisco.
Yeah,
It's
fog. It's
chilly.
just for whatever reason, just where they are by the bay, it's that temperature. But if you go 20 minutes outside the city, then it's your normal California. It's hot weather, but
Interesting.
just not down where San Francisco is. Yeah.
Yeah. So 2025 will be fun and terrifying, but hopefully fun. One other thing I am very thankful for are, and I'm going to hold this up here, ergonomic keyboards.
Ooh, wow.
I have a little split dealio.
Oh yeah.
This is the Microsoft Sculpt. Some of the keys have started to fail on it, so I was actually just looking up to get a new version. Apparently, this has been discontinued, as has my ergonomic mouse. And this just is a testament to how long I tend to stay with a product. Whether it is a pair of shorts from Patagonia or a keyboard from Microsoft, I tend to own things until they break, and then by the time they've broken, I try to get another thing, and it has not been produced in years. So I'm just a slow to change kind of individual.
You buy quality though.
Yeah, I'll go. Let's paint it that way. That's much nicer.
Yeah. So you're buying things that you're like, I'm not going to. I don't want to name any stores you'd go to buy cheap stuff. Five Below. You're not going to Five Below to
There
get
you go.
your mouse. You're spending a few bucks to get something, and it's going to last. That's the spin of it.
There you go. Yeah, it's about quality control. I buy quality products, but I could not be a computer programmer without.
You're like Tommy from Tommy Boy. Didn't he do?
Oh my god, I love that movie so much. Right, we sell quality products at an affordable price.
Yep.
I'm Tom. It was like Tom Slinsky. Oh, God, I should watch that movie again. That's
a great movie.
And I bet that movie ages well. Sometimes you have a memory of a movie as being fantastic from 20 years ago, and then you watch it again, you're like, oh, that didn't age well. Or just like, where you were in your life is so different, and the humor no longer makes sense. But every single time I see my brother, and we were both Tommy Boy fans, we always go, brothers don't shake hands. Brothers gotta hug. So, memories built and memories lasted.
I think that's one of those lines, and I think a lot of brothers do.
Yeah.
Because we do that. I think that's a good one. For whatever reason, Gladiator is one of my favorite movies, and I've watched that several times. And it just gets you.
I throw "Are you not entertained?" out like every couple of months for sure. It's so good.
Now, Gladiator 2 is out in the theaters right now.
Oh, that's right. With Pedro, plug. Is it Pedro Pascal? No,
I have no idea. I just saw the Gladiator 2 kind of.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to go see that in the theater. My kids are excited. My wife for Wicked. That comes out here.
I don't know anything about Wicked, but I know it is just a phenomenon and people freak out about
it. So I've seen it twice. I saw it in New York and then in California.
In the theaters, right? Like the theater, not the movie.
Yeah. Like I saw it like on Broadway in New York. Actually, that was with the original cast, which they're all really good. And I had a chance to also see it in California. And a great show. I mean, it's basically the Wizard of Oz, but from the Wicked Witch's perspective, and like how she became who she is and her schooling and stuff. So it very interesting, but great music. The people they have, the cast, great voices. I think and then that helped build up the story, and then from that they and to kind of connect with the audience, they grabbed Ariana Grande.
Oh, nice.
So
she's like a famous singer. I know the name, but I don't know that much about that. As much as I know pop culture movies, I know nothing about pop culture music.
Yeah, I don't know how I know these names, but I'm the person. I'm on your side.
I do watch one of the television shows that I love is a show called Only Murders in the Building. It's on Hulu, and it has Selena Gomez as one of the characters. I believe she's a singer, but I don't know very much about her either.
I think I agree with you. I think she's a singer. I don't know her stuff at all.
I think she was like a Disney kid, and then went on to become
a lot of them.
a
lot of people are Disney kids.
Yeah, Justin Timberlake, I think, was Britney Spears.
Yeah.
Oh, my youth. Seems so long ago. It seems like only yesterday Britney Spears was having a nervous breakdown.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, we're way off the rails here. Anything else we should talk about that we're thankful for?
I should probably say my wife and kids.
Oh yeah. Given. Me too. Totally me too.
I'm like, oh, I didn't say that. I don't think they're watching our show, but in the off chance 100%. that they are, I will throw it out there. I'll even throw out my brothers and sisters and my extended family, mom, stepfather, all the whole crew.
Nice, cover all your bases. Smart.
Yeah, just you gotta be just in case. I'm an insurance policy. in case like my mother's like, I should take him out of my will. Nope. You know what? He mentioned me on that podcast. He's back in. No, I love my mom. She's actually just here.
Oh my goodness. All right.
We have gone crazy here. But yeah, that's my ending, and I hopefully we're not going to bend same changes as far as jobs go. I have nothing planned, I say. So, but yeah, I'm interesting to see from your perspective, and for the listeners get to kind of follow some of that journey with you. I hope you share some of that, because I'm sure many of them can relate. And there's all these reductions in force out there.
Yeah, it's a little terrifying.
So, yeah, and they're going through the same thing. So to kind of have someone else they can relate to, I think it'll be interesting for them to get a little sense of that journey.
Fantastic. Well, I guess for all of our U.S. listeners, I don't know when this is going to come out, but if it comes out timely, as the Ryan Brown team usually makes it happen, happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and I hope you eat wonderful, wonderful foods and spend time with wonderful family, but also wonderful foods. Maybe mostly wonderful foods. And
me too on that one.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening, and hope you took away something from this show.
Yeah, there was something in there for sure. Something
made
for
you think
everyone.
about, if nothing, you thought about you being thankful for something. So, guys, again, as Ben said, have a great Thanksgiving. Hopefully, this comes out before that, and we will see you. Actually, we'll be taking a break. Ben, I don't think
next week will be hard. Yeah, it'll be hard.
Yeah, so you guys will be on a little hiatus with the Ben and Ryan show for a couple weeks, and we'll
leave them wanting more. There you go. And then I think is Sharvie the next one?
She is. So we record that. I'll give some more behind the scenes stuff. We're recording that on December 5th. Nice. And that is regarding the beta in 2025. So we'll probably turn that around pretty quickly into at least the long form.
Very exciting.
So yeah, you definitely want to turn to that. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. And as my friend Ben Nadel says, cheers.
Cheers.